What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Easter Pod. I'm your host, Corey Easterday, and on this episode, we are chatting with the one and only Cody Martin. As we cover in our conversation, Cody is a fantastic musician and a longtime staple of the Ohio music scene. As a matter of fact, I was just on my phone today on the Time Hop app, which shows you all your past social media posts, which mostly a good thing, sometimes can be an awkward thing, but all that to say, I found one from like 10 years ago where I was shouting out a show that Cody was doing in Canton, and it just goes to show you this guy's been around a long time, making great music, and I had the honor of sitting down to chat with Cody when he was visiting my wife and I in Charlotte last October with his wonderful, wonderful, amazing girlfriend, Emily. And I know what you're thinking. This conversation happened in October 2022, and I'm just now getting it in February 2023. Well, folks, welcome to the life of an indie podcaster. The holidays happened, life got busy, et cetera, but as I try to do with all my conversations on the Easter Pod, this episode is a timeless and fun listen because it's meant to showcase who Cody is, the amazing art that he puts out into the world, and his creative process, and we were definitely able to achieve that. As always, thank you for listening and supporting the show. There's so many people I want to chat with and have on the podcast, and your persistent encouragement fuels me to keep going, even when other things in life have to take priority. I think the reality is I'm probably always going to try to do this show in some form and put out content and highlight people's stories. It's just a matter of how often I can get these inspiring conversations into your ears. And of course, speaking of inspiring conversations, be sure to check out my last episode with visual artist, muralist, Indian folk dancer, community and cultural connector, and so much more, Shefali Patel. Shefali and I had a great time talking about all the amazing work she does around the Charlotte community to create art and empower other artists, so definitely worth a listen. And as always, you can follow the show at the Easter Pod on social media and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice so that you never miss an episode. Before we dive in, special thanks to my friend Speak Seldom for creating the music for this episode, and to my guy JD Laird and his company Token for helping to produce this episode. Check out JD and Token's work by visiting tokencreative.co. Last, but most importantly, check out Cody Martin and his music on social media at Cody J. Martin. Visit codyjmartinmusic.com and stream his music, Cody J. Martin, on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your music. Without further ado, my conversation with Cody Martin. So, my guest today is someone that I've known of for a long time through all our mutual connections in the Ohio music scene. We ironically didn't start getting connected and becoming friends until much more recently, and after I had already moved away from Ohio. So I'm really stoked to have him on the show. He also has the distinction of being my only early morning guest to date, and probably the only early morning guest recording I'll ever have if I can help it. He's an incredible musician and singer-songwriter who's been performing for just over a decade. Cody Martin, welcome to the Easter Pod. How are you doing today on this early morning?
I'm doing great, Corey. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, I'm excited to have you on. I appreciate you coming on the show after playing a gig last night.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. First time in Charlotte, so.
Yeah, and you were playing at a brewery that I love, and I know a lot of people enjoy, Petty Thieves. How was your experience playing the show?
It was great. Really cool brewery. Very nice people.
Yeah, you did a phenomenal job. I mean, you had to play for two and a half hours,
About 2.5 hours.
And you did mostly originals and like just mix a few covers in?
Yeah. I try to do as many originals as possible if I can, and mix in a couple fun little covers. Usually of the folk or singer-songwriter variety.
Well, that's the nice thing, not to pump you up too much as we're getting the day started here, but that's the nice thing about being as talented as you are, just as a musician in general, is you kind of have a lot of things in your repertoire that you can use in settings like that. And you were saying you might actually, we were talking about last night, you might actually prefer shows like that because people are able to kind of like mingle and hang out and talk with each other, and it's not like everyone's just focused on you. Yeah,
sometimes it's pretty frightening when everyone shuts up and actually pays attention. But I mean, it's not ever a bad thing, of course. But
no, that could be the tagline of this show or like any performance I've ever done. It's very frightening when everyone just shuts up and pays attention.
Yeah, it's like, oh, now I gotta actually be good at what I do.
Yeah, which you are. I can't state it enough. People that are listening to this that that we're connected with, back in Ohio. I don't need to tell them. You, like I said in the intro, you've been doing this for quite a while now, especially like in the local Ohio music scene. And I'm not kidding. I've known of you maybe even since you got started, just because when you're good at what you do, word spreads fast. So I don't need to tell our Ohio people how good you are. But I'm stoked that you got to come hang out. You and Emily got to come spend some time with Megan and I over the weekend. And that you got to do a show in Charlotte that we got that hookup. Since it's your first time in Charlotte, what have you just thought of Charlotte in general?
Oh, it's wonderful. I think I was telling you coming in, it looked like a very futuristic skyline, which I appreciated. It's a cool little city. I haven't even really, I don't know how many like small areas there are, but hopefully check some more out.
Yeah, time goes fast, man. I feel like you guys have been in since like Thursday night. We're recording on Saturday morning, and I feel like we've still barely gotten to explore.
Scratch the surface, yeah.
It's true, it is. And that's one of the things I personally love about Charlotte, why we've really enjoyed our time down here since moving from Ohio is, you have the uptown, kind of the major hub of the city, but then you have all these neighborhoods around it where there's just so much to do and so much to explore. So
yeah.
Glad you guys are down here enjoying your time. So pertaining to your music, which is, really what I want to focus on mostly, as much as we, want to talk about our Qwirkle exploits and things of that nature.
Yeah, avid Qwirkler these days.
Yeah, you are. Listen, you and Emily are kicking our butts every time. I don't know how many people listening have ever played Qwirkle. I don't even know how to begin to explain it. It's just a board game that we introduce y'all to.
Yeah. It's addicting. It's a fun game.
It is, yeah. It was so funny because after the show last night, we had friends out. We had a whole deal. You're playing for 2.5 hours. The drinks are flowing. The good times are being had, and the after party, by Cody's wishes, is go back and play Qwirkle.
Let's go Qwirkle.
Yeah,
whiskey and Qwirkle. That's all you need for a good time.
It is. It's a great time. Qwirkle's a fun game. Check it out. I guess that's if Qwirkle wants to sponsor the show, there you go.
Yeah,
that's a little
quick plug.
Quick Qwirkle plug. That's a tongue twister. So let's talk about your music. How did you get started? How long have you been singing, playing guitar? Like, give me kind of the Cody Martin origin story, if you will.
I grew up around a lot of classic rock and 90s country music, and sometime, I think I was in the 6th grade, or it's about 12 or so, my friend taught me how to play a few things on guitar, and I picked it up quite naturally and got really, really into it, and just progressed. A few bands in high school, some hard rock and metal genre kind of stuff, and then naturally that transitioned to folk music after high school. I think everyone saw that coming.
So those who listen to the show know I'm also a musician. I grew up playing drums and stuff. I feel like you're right. That is kind of the natural progression as you get older and more sad.
Yeah.
You just start
hard rock, metal, and then folk.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's all just a way to express our emotions at any given stage of life.
Yeah. No, I think I liked the technical aspects of some of that heavier music, and then got a little more into words after high school.
I share that with you in that when I was in high school, I was definitely into like the Metallica and like even heavier metal. I mean, they're everybody's kind of gateway metal band, if you will. Yeah. And that was kind of my biggest influence as a drummer. Those metal drummers are incredible, but it's kind of hard for me to. I have my old photos. I know what I looked like and what it was like then with me, sporting the all black and being really like, like trying to do the metal scene. I have a really hard time picturing you in the metal band.
Yeah, I never really looked the metal part. I would wear, band tees and had longer hair and stuff, but Chuck Taylors.
Yeah.
Yeah, Converse.
Were you playing guitar in the metal, or were you singing?
Yeah, I was doing guitar and singing.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like that does make sense as like the natural progression of, and when you're in high school and much more angry, metal's the outlet.
There's a lot of angst.
A lot of angst.
That you just kind of create yourself, I think.
When did you start kind of getting more into like wanting to... So let me back up a bit. So how would you describe your music, like your personal style as a musician?
I usually say folk. Yeah, singer-songwriter. It's a lot of just finger picking and kind of classic coffee house style. Maybe.
Yeah. No, that's good. I know we were joking about this last night. I know like the bio that we need to make sure gets updated on your website is God. It's a couple. Listen, I get it. We all got a lot of stuff going on. But you had the like folk, blues, and country music intersect.
Yeah,
kind of the descriptor.
Yeah, those are all. I mean, I draw a lot of influence from those three genres: old country and blues music, and folk songwriters from anywhere from the 30s all the way up to the 70s.
Yeah. So how did you? What prompted that transition? How did you make that transition, or when did you from kind of the high school metal scene? Was it just like right out of high school, going into adult years? You were like, I want something a little more low key, or?
Yeah, my senior year of high school, kind of finally started getting into Bob Dylan's music, and once I became like completely aware of what he was all about and found that for myself, it changed a lot of things. And then I got into other artists like Elliott Smith and The Tallest Man on Earth, and some of the modern like folk singers.
Which I'm glad you brought up The Tallest Man on Earth, because I know that's like your doppelganger, or at least what I don't know if most people associate that with you, but that was my first association.
Yeah, his music and what he's all about changed a lot for me, and I loved his playing style, so I kind of ripped it off as subtly as possible.
Yeah, and I mean, you cover his songs very well too, but
thank you.
You do have your own unique style. I don't remember how I discovered him, but he's become a big like musical influence as me in the last, or for me as well, like in the last 5 to 7 years or whatever since I discovered his music. So when you start, like, when's your first album? Like, what, or do you just release a single? Like, how did you kind of start? How did Cody Martin, the artist, start taking shape as far as, start playing shows, you're releasing an album? Like, what was kind of your intro into the Ohio music scene and kind of putting yourself out there more?
I wrote a couple songs on my own after the band things were pretty much wrapping up, and started playing them out at just random open mics around Canton, and just started to meet people. I met a guy named John Finley.
Oh, John. I love John.
John's great. And he was looking to do a recording project. So I said I have a handful of songs, and we started working on a full length that eventually got released in 2014, and that would be my first album.
Okay.
Songs.
Yeah, that was after my time a little bit in the scene, because the band I was in, we were called August, and then Elijah Wild was active from like 2005 to 2012, and then I did a few shows with like our good friends and other incredible musicians, John King and Kevin Emmleton and those guys, and but then just kind of fizzled out. I'm not here to complain. Life can be tough sometimes as a drummer, because you're a little bit dependent on, if that's your main focus, you're dependent on other people to be able to go out and play with. And I'm getting older. I'm like, I met Megan. It's like, your priorities start shifting. But so that was your first kind of album. What was the name of that album?
That was called Somewhere You'd Rather Be.
Okay. And did you have songs on that kind of stick with you to this day, or that, like, did you have a single off of that? Like,
yeah, I still play a handful of songs off that. I released a single for it called All Roads Lead to War, which I still play that out every now and then. I still perform some of those regularly.
Okay, yeah. What was since we're both well-versed in the Ohio music scene, what was the first like venue, or where did you start like playing a particular venue fairly often, or where was your first show? Where did you start kind of getting plugged in with the live stuff?
So the open mics that I was doing were predominantly at like Mugswig's Coffee House.
That's right. Yep.
And those were Tuesday nights, and I think that they're still happening. And there were some other coffee shops that aren't in business anymore in Canton that I was doing open mics at. But I'd say like the Qwirkle.
That's a big one.
That was a big one. That's where I had my CD release show, and for the first album and the second in the new location. But yeah, that was that. Musica in Akron, and I would say those are probably like the two big venues that most people know in Canton, Akron area.
100%. Yep. That was the same exact thing for us, because I remember Qwirkle opened in 2010, I think. Mm-hmm. I think I played the first show, actually, like with another friend's band. They had a small like 3-group lineup or whatever.
That's a humble brag.
It is a humble brag. It's a flex for a certain audience. The band I was playing with, my friends, one of them had a keytar also. So I played drums, but then we had a keytar going. And so I remember playing that show in the Qwirkle Open, but that became like the staple venue in Canton. Yeah. It still is in many ways to this day. So many good show memories there, going to shows, playing shows, whatever. And same with Musica. That was one I remember, for being a local band that started in Barberton, Ohio, and wanting to work our way up the Ohio music scene. Our Musica was like the pinnacle, viewed as the pinnacle in some ways. Like, if we can get on at Musica regularly.
Yeah, Musica's great. Had a lot of good shows there. And Qwirkle. Buzzbin was another one. They're not really, I think they've changed situations recently, but that was another kind of a venue that was very popular when I was getting going. Yeah, that I remember going to a couple shows at Buzzbin. I think that might have been, they've been doing shows for a long time, but that might have been after we were very early on and we were like a 3-piece rock band, so we didn't get out to as many of the coffee shops and things of that nature sometimes. But okay, so 2014 is your first full length. Yep.
Okay, so fast forward from there, what was your next album from 2014, or what was your next like big project, single, whatever?
After I released that, I booked a tour for myself in 2015, and got to do some traveling and go around and play some cool venues throughout, Midwest and the South a little bit. And then in 2016, I started recording my second full length, which was eventually released in 2019.
Where did you go on that tour in 2015? Like, how was it? Like 2 or 3 months? Like, how far?
It was 2 weeks.
I said 2 or 3 months. Like who are we right now?
I mean, I know people who've done them that long.
True. Yeah, that's fair.
It takes a lot of planning. Yeah, I trying to Kentucky, Indiana. I think went as far out west as Joplin, Missouri.
Oh, nice.
And then back over to Nashville and up the East Coast to New York. And then Philadelphia, I think, was the last show, and then came home.
Well, was that your first time like being out on tour?
Yeah.
Kind of doing that? What was that experience like for you?
It was great. There was a nice balance. The first week was really well planned. I always had a place to stay, and all the shows were great. And then like the second week, I got some of the more didn't have a place to stay. I had to sleep in the car a couple times. And, like some of the shows kind of were a little funky, but it was I loved it, and been wanting to do it again. I meant to in 2020, but
yeah,
you know,
more than a few plans were ruined that year.
Yeah, everyone kind of had something happen to them that year.
Yeah, there was some other pressing matters
some
going
things
on.
were going down.
Yeah. So yeah, the tour part that I've only been on a handful of those myself. Like, did you have a like a backing band with you, or was it just you and your guitar basically?
Yeah, it was just me and guitar.
I bet that was kind of liberating in a way, just kind of hit the road with your music.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. There's always some excitement to travel. Like even just coming down and getting to play in Charlotte's exciting.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, that's a solid 7-hour drive.
Yeah, anytime you get to kind of get out of your comfort zone a little bit and go somewhere new.
100%.
Always
yeah.
great.
Yeah. And I remember when one of the tours that we did going to, I don't know if hopefully you didn't have any experiences like this. And I think I've shared this on the podcast before, but going to a venue in Indiana and only like the owner and his family being there and like nobody coming. You have to set up all your stuff and you just like, you got to play your heart out. So hopefully you haven't had to pay any of those dues, but.
Philadelphia was a trip. All the bands that I was lined up with canceled. And then the club owner was just like, you don't have to do this. And I said, well, I'm here. So I played to the bartender, and John Finley was on me with that part of the tour. And I played to John and the bartender, and one person came in.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was great.
That's listen. Anyone who's ever played music has been there. Even you've heard of Lake Street Dive, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about them the other day. Megan and I got to see them play live here in Charlotte recently. Absolutely incredible show, but they were kind of documenting their journey as a band. So there's a venue here in Charlotte that is very reminiscent to me of a Qwirkle or a Musica, like we have back home. Charlotte's my home, but you know, I lived there for 29 years. That's back home to me. So, so like kind of like what we had there. So it's called the Evening Muse, and it's in NODA, North Davidson neighborhood of Charlotte, which hopefully we'll be able to take you guys to at some point before you leave. But it's like 150 person, 170, like it's a kind of a smaller venue, but incredible setup. Like I've been to some of the best shows of my life, have been going to the Evening Muse and seeing bands play there, or just, you know, various artists. And Lake Street Dive was talking about how when they were kind of coming up as a group, they played at the Evening Muse and only like 2 or 3 people were there basically. And they have this like whole band set up and whatever. And Evening Muse invited them back, and basically that kind of snowballed into playing bigger venues whenever they'd come back to Charlotte and be able to, and, you know, to the point that we were seeing them with, you know, a few thousand other people or whatever. So even some of the bigger bands got to pay those dues sometimes.
Oh yeah. I feel like it's good for you.
It is. Yeah. It builds character.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's what allows you to, like last night, play for 2.5 hours to a crowd where like only 2 people were actively listening the whole time. And all your friends that are there just like talking and chatting and having fun. So, all right. So that tour, that was like 2015. So you started your next full length in 2016, released in 2019. So Tell me about that album, like what it was called, what some of the songs were off of, just, the process of creating that.
Yeah, that album eventually was called From Here to All of Time's Entire, and once again worked with John Finley on that. Rented a cabin in Hocking Hills for the better part of a week, and we loaded all of our gear in there, and just knocked out as many songs as we could. I think we got the raw tracks for about 22 songs, and eventually worked that down to the 10 that were on the album. So there's a lot of like backlog of material just kind of hanging out on Finley's laptop or what have you.
So one day in the future, we'll get the Cody J. Martin, the unreleased,
the B-sides.
B-sides.
Yeah. We worked on that throughout 2016 and 2017, doing all the overdubs and extra stuff, and then mixed. It took a while to mix, and I got it about ready to go in 2018, and then wanted to release it on vinyl, so waited for the vinyl process to run its course, which is a fairly long process.
Was it only released on vinyl?
Yeah, physically I only released it on vinyl, and just streaming in vinyl.
That's pretty cool. So I've never had any music I've created pressed on vinyl. I remember that was part of the conversation, but it was more of a matter of practicality of who's gonna buy this in our case. But what made you want to only release it on vinyl, like the physical copy?
I did my first album on CD and sold out of those, and then I collect vinyl records as a hobby, so I was really eager to have my own music put out on that format, and just out of the logic behind that, I think was, a lot of cars don't even have CD players anymore, so people are either going to stream it, or if they buy it physically, like I know a lot of people are into collecting vinyl records these days, so that was my reasoning on that one.
That's pretty solid reasoning, and I mean, judging by the mere fact that we were all in a vinyl record store yesterday, picking up copies of whatever we could find, I think that was pretty sound logic. Yeah,
I mean, CDs are maybe the next album I'll do on CD. Anymore, you see everyone doing records or cassettes or CDs, and as much as they can. I know the vinyl industry got pretty bottlenecked after COVID, so it's a little harder to get your stuff pressed these days because a lot of pressing plants are so behind and are doing things for bigger artists because they have the capital.
Yeah, unfortunate, but that makes sense.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it takes a year to do like a vinyl pressing.
It takes a while. I forget how long process was. I think I submitted my album to Gotta Groove Records in January of 2019 and got them back in May. So it was close to half a year. But anymore, I think it takes about a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because you're waiting in a queue pretty much before they... But then, it's pretty extensive. You get test pressings and have to make sure it sounds good and if there's any changes that need made.
Well, shoot, that makes me want to try harder to get active again on the music scene so I can get something pressed on.
Yeah.
That sounds cool to just even have one copy. I mean, you brought a copy to the house or whatever, and I was like there's something, I don't know, like if prestigious is the right word or whatever, but there's something just cool about seeing your music or seeing yourself like in vinyl form.
Yeah, it's a trip. I would love to do that again. It's a cool feeling for sure.
And your first, the single reading off your website here, so you can correct me on anything, but the single from that album was called Born in a Grave.
Yep.
And talk to me about that song, because I know that gained some traction, locally and otherwise.
Yeah, so that it just felt like the right song. I knew going into it that I was felt pretty good about that one. It was one of the songs where early on it was like, okay, that'll be on the next full length for sure. So I released that as the single, and I think it got put on a couple of playlists on Spotify at the time that where it started getting some pretty decent streams, and eventually the Summit 91.3, the Summit in Akron started putting it into their local rotation, which every now and then I think they still play it, which is nice.
That's really cool. That's another tent pole of the Ohio music scene. If you can get on the local radio, the Summit. Yep. I want to come back to Born in a Grave, but before I forget, you wrote. This is kind of incredible to me. So you wrote 22 songs and basically cut 12. I'm sure you still play those in some form. Like they're not completely out of your repertoire of available songs when you're doing shows. But what was that like, having to just cut 12 songs out entirely? Because for people listening, that like you put your heart and soul into every song you create. I'm sure like I know that was true of me. I'm sure that's true of like the music you create. What was that like, having to just cut such a big amount of your catalog from even being released? Or maybe, I don't know, just what was that like? Maybe that was liberating in some way. I don't know.
Yeah, it was nice because I think some of those songs weren't really ready yet, and the ones that eventually ended up on the second release made the most sense together, I think. So it was just a process of elimination of, this one doesn't really seem like it fits. So we'll hold off on it and maybe revisit it. And some of those songs I've even kind of messed with rewriting since then, and they might end up on the next release as a whole different kind of thing.
That's pretty cool. I like that. To me, that kind of speaks to the artistic nature of music and writing music, because I think it can be easy to be cynical in some respects sometimes when you look at, just general pop music or kind of what sells and how it can feel, like a factory of sorts sometimes. Yeah. So I like that idea of repurposing creations that you've made. So basically nothing is wasted, Yeah,
I think it's healthy. Like if it feels old, you can make it feel new again if you take the time to change a few things around, or if you care enough about it, or you can just move on and forget about it.
Yeah. It's nice to have that kind of, just that creative control over what you're doing, and just like maybe this is something, maybe it's nothing, but you just kind of, I don't know. I like that process, because any song that I've ever created was a collaborative effort with other people. So maybe it was just the time of life I was in, but it felt like there was more gravity to everything we created. And so I kind of like the idea of being able to create something that maybe doesn't get released, or you come back to later, or, there's not like all this pressure and weight on it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's, like you said, some of those songs I still play live, and they haven't really even ever been heard in a recorded format. So yeah, I think it's important to keep working on some things.
Yeah. We'll start pressing for the B-sides now, because apparently it takes
a while.
So talk to me more about Born in a Grave. So what's that song about?
I guess it's just about as funny as the title is. I like it. To me, it was more of an uplifting song, just about kind of having to live life in spite of the fact that life's going to end. And yeah, I think that's what all my songs are about in one way or another.
So not to put words in your mouth, but maybe that balance of kind of the general malaise and apathy that comes with life and knowing that you're going to die.
Yeah.
Mixed with how that can also spur you to want to live life even more to its fullest. Like,
yeah, that's a good way to put
is that
it.
is that fair?
Yeah, I think you said it better than I did.
No, listen, I've written a handful of lyrics in my day, but I'm no songwriter. I'm no Cody Martin. So.
Oh well, I just fake it till I make it.
Well, okay, maybe this is my way of just trying to get a songwriter credit on your next album.
You're there.
Yeah, sweet. It'd be like Beyonce, just have like 27 credits.
Yeah, so many different checks to write for Beyonce.
Oh, and I do expect to get paid for my
Yeah,
contributions.
I won't.
To your album.
I won't do you like that.
All right, you're a good man. So kind of going with that, that theme of Born and Grave. You said maybe that theme is a little bit kind of prevalent throughout your music. So, again, as somebody that's merely a drummer, that has just my musical life has always been collaborative. Talk to me a little bit about the process of you sitting down, like just with yourself, like creating a song. Like maybe you can just pick a song or talk about the process in general. But how does one of your songs just come together when you're kind of, I don't know, in a room by yourself, just figuring out the guitar parts, figuring out the lyrics? Like what is that even like?
A lot of the times it's, I'd say my process is a little all over the place. I can struggle when I sit down with the sole focus to writing a song or trying to leave the room with new material. But I'd say for me it happens kind of over time, just with collecting phrases or thoughts or titles and keeping track of them until eventually they start kind of forming into a piece on their own. So that's, I think for me, that's how the process has always kind of gone, just continuously working and writing until eventually something kind of happens without you realizing it.
So it's not necessarily where, you go and sit down for like 2 hours and say, I'm going to come out of this with a song. You just kind of let it organically form over time.
Yeah. If I have like tried to force out a song, and usually I don't feel great about it just because it feels so like I was making it happen against my own will or what have you. But always jotting stuff on my phone, and I carry a notebook with me most of the time, so I'm always writing things down, or whenever I'm driving, sometimes just running through different words in my head or different phrases.
Which, again, I like that idea of it being a more organic process, that you're not just trying to, force something creative to come out. I feel like a lot of my favorite, musical influences or just artists in general, like that seems to be like a pretty common way of processing, is just being really tuned in to what is happening in life around you and kind of being in the moment, capturing that moment, putting it into a piece of art later kind of deal. I've recently gained a dream of wanting to do at least one stand-up comedy set. It's a lifelong dream that I just started within the last 6 months or whatever.
I like it.
Yeah, but that's kind of, in talking with friends that have actually done it, that have taken the courageous step of doing like a 5-minute stand-up set, that's always typically advice they give, is just start a notes, like the app on your phone, just start a note or whatever, just jot down ideas, stuff that comes to you, form it later. Different genre of creating, but kind of similar concept of being really tuned into what's happening and creating off of that.
Yeah.
Bring it together later.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. That's in my experience, that's been the easiest way for me to access a creative side of myself, is just kind of paying attention to what's going on around you and taking what you can from it and putting it into some kind of material.
Yeah, and I think to me that speaks also just the idea of like mindfulness and being present. Like it's so easy. I'm somebody that can be riddled with anxiety or all these other external factors happening, and doing this podcast or talking with people, whatever. It's kind of taught me the importance of active listening, being present, like being really engaged, and then how that can often yield the best outcome. Have you have you found mindfulness or just being present? Have you like found any of that to be important when you're performing or writing or any of that kind of creative stuff?
Yeah, most definitely. I think it kind of helps you develop as a young adult or a person or an adult or a child, or however it helps you develop when you are being present and paying attention to other people, or maybe, just the emotions in a room, and kind of observing that and maybe thinking about what other people are going through, or the things that aren't getting said.
Yes, that is. Have you ever watched? Do you watch The Office?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said something very profound about the things that aren't getting said, but my pop culture brain immediately went to that scene where Michael's really worried about a conversation with Jan or something, and Stanley's in there he's trying to get his raise, his bonus or whatever.
Yeah, he's working him.
And Stanley knows how to work Michael, so he's like, Michael's playing the voicemail, and Stanley's like, you gotta listen for the pauses.
Yeah.
What's not being said.
What's not being said. That's brilliant.
And Michael's like, oh, wow. That made me think of that. But that's a profound actual life sentiment that, reading a room, reading the emotions, because, anybody that studied communication for more than a minute, human communication is so complex and weird and
it's
layered.
It's excruciating.
It is excruciating. That's a great way to describe it. It can be excruciating because I think that's why we're all so exhausted all the time.
That's where the humor is, though, too. It's just like The Office, like the cringe moments, but everyone goes through really awkward interactions all the time.
Oh, 100, yes. You don't know. We haven't known each other super long, so you don't know this about me. But in college, I was dubbed the king of awkward, like my freshman year.
Yeah.
So I am all here for the awkward.
Yeah.
I've just learned to lean into it as I get older.
Just go with it.
Yeah. But you're right, though. That's kind of the funny duality of just the human experience, not to get like too meta or what. I mean, whatever. We're both creators. Like we get meta.
Talk about it.
I think meta all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. You couldn't write the songs you do if you didn't think philosophically.
Right.
But that's, just the human experience of we're always wanting to put on the best front for people, present the best version of ourselves, basically, while also having a need for like deep, vulnerable, like intimate connection.
Yeah.
Where you can like be authentic and like drop the pretense and whatever. And I always feel like that's such a push and pull that's always happening. Like we want people to like us and like what we present, but then we also crave like actual deep connection. Yep. And sometimes those are in conflict.
Yeah, for sure. The whole idea of even getting into performing arts of any kind is you're almost kind of like, oh, I gotta be this or this, or you try to create almost a vehicle for what you're trying to say or do, and that it can be very, very fake and makes you feel really odd about yourself, and it's something you got to think about. But at the end of the day, I don't really have an answer to any of that stuff. So,
that's why I brought you on the podcast. I thought you had
all the answers.
What are we even doing here?
I'm still looking for them, unfortunately.
No, same. I get that because the business or marketing aspect of it is, Cody Martin is as much a brand that you're trying to sell to people as it is your own personal, like, from within the depths of your soul creation.
Yeah.
So how do those two, relate is always kind of a question.
Yeah, it's a lot of my, a lot of the famous performers are, Tom Waits or Bob Dylan. Like they seem like they've created a separate person that no one else, no one's ever going to know the real them because that's so guarded by their stage image.
Yeah, and I mean, the examples you just mentioned, and then so many prolific comedians, artists, musicians, whoever, it's a tale as old as time, like people that are bona fide geniuses in whatever they're creating, but just have such a hard time, like, relating socially to people in like a broader sense.
Yeah.
You know, like that part can be so daunting because you're creating from such a inward place, and what comes out is this, you know, beautiful thing that people want to consume and laud you for and whatever, but then you kind of go, like, you kind of live your normal life, you know, so to speak, the rest of the time. And I don't know, there's always that kind of tension going on, I feel like.
Yeah, it's almost an art form in itself, is known where the one starts and the other stops.
Yeah, and that's to a similar extent. I've had that struggle, like with this podcast or with, you know, anything I've done where I'm creating. It's like I want so desperately for people to affirm it and think it's awesome and, you know, whatever, because I want that like social capital of being able to hang out with cool people and feel like I'm, you know, like just feel like my life is something, you know, whatever. Especially because for me growing up, I spent so much time in isolation, like socially or otherwise, and I'm almost like trying to make up for lost time. Like I want that connection so bad, but I find that, and I found this my whole life, like I have to be so careful because I've played music, like I've done a lot of public speaking, I've done a lot of things that are like consumable, but similar to what we're talking about, I've had to constantly remind myself over and over and make sure I'm surrounding myself with people that reinforce this message that, you know, Cody Martin is not a consumable product. Like Corey Easterday is not a consumable product. Like we're flesh and blood human beings and should be able to, you know, relate to and connect with other flesh and blood human beings on like a really deep and authentic level without always thinking about the brand, you know, so to speak, because that can kind of put up a barrier with interacting with people in an authentic way if you're only like brand focused. Yeah,
it's especially just any more in the past 10 to 12 years with just how like all consuming social media has become and how it feels like you need to constantly have something, and it's exhausting.
It is exhausting. I'm with you on that. I found myself, even last night at your show, I didn't post about it or anything, and I'm like, for a minute I had that weird tension of like, am I even here? Is this even happening? Am I even experiencing this?
People don't know I'm here. Am I really here?
Yeah. If a tree falls in the forest.
Yeah. I anymore, like I enjoy things that no one else is seeing. Like I don't need to prove to anyone that I was here or did this. I mean, obviously a show's different. You need to promote, you know, certain things, but other than that, I'm getting to a really comfortable point where I couldn't care less about making sure I get a post out of this.
I think that's a healthy place to be ultimately.
It's a hard spot to get to anymore, but I don't know. It's such like an instant gratification thing, like getting a like. It's
something, yeah. We could talk about that for days, just the complexity social media has wrought on our world.
It could be its own whole show.
It could, because, you know, genuinely it's like been such a vehicle to connect with people, at least for me, you know, it's like some people I wouldn't know or be able to maintain connection with without it. But yeah, there's also that downside to it. It's wild. One of the things I was thinking of earlier though is like, you know, I think one of the best things we can do is just put ourselves in those situations to be uncomfortable with people, like to have to show our authentic selves. Like having you and Emily stay with us, you know, there's been multiple times where because of the layout of our house, I'm just in the bathroom, and you know I'm using the bathroom, and you can hear me in the bathroom, and that's like we're human.
It's all right.
Like it's just something so stupid and basic, but it's like that's kind of how you build bonds with people, because it drops the pretense. You know, it's not like you're coming in here like you're the guest on my show, and it's like this dude's heard me using the bathroom. Like I don't, you know,
hurry up because I need to go too.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, you know what, I to the point of all of that, I think it would be hilarious if we just didn't release this. Then we're just like, we don't need to promote it, we don't need to post it,
just a snippet, just to say we did this, but we don't need you to know that we did it.
Yeah.
Post
a little snippet.
So there.
Yeah. And then we just scrap the record. Like this just never gets. This is the B side. This conversation is a B side.
I like it.
This will be so the next vinyl you put out, this will be the hidden track.
The hidden track, yeah, after 12 minutes of silence.
That's perfect.
It's a whole double album, and the second LP is first A-sides silence, and then the beginning of the conversation, and then the B-sides, the rest.
I love it. That's how you separate the true fans, the true Cody Martin fans, is like who's going to discover.
Did you even listen to the album?
Yeah, exactly. Because then people, that album was so great, man. I love it.
Was it?
Was it? Really? Did you even listen? Okay. Well, so before, I would be remiss if I didn't. So besides Born in a Grave, you've written a lot of music over the years. Are there any other songs that really stand out to you or like favorites that you've written?
Yeah, I'd say off the first record, to name a few, What's Already Gone and Lies for the Precious Kind and Tomorrow's a Brand New Day. I think those are 3 songs that I still play quite frequently at shows. And then I play pretty much all of the second album live. And then I released a song in 2020 called Get Behind My Eyes. That's a good example. That was a song we initially recorded for the second album that didn't make it, and it was done in a completely different style. And then by 2020, I reworked a few things, just tweaked a couple of the lyrics and re-recorded it, and got that out, and did a fun little music video with a fella named Tyler Needing.
Oh, you're dropping all the right names on the show. Tyler's great. I've worked with Tyler on a few projects. He's great.
Yeah, Tyler's incredible. So yeah, that all came together really quickly, and that was exciting. It's always exciting to get something out. I'd like to get more material out quicker, but it's always a process, and I can be a little bit of a kind of a perfectionist to an extent. So like I will be the first one to tell myself that something sucks and it's not coming out. No one's going to see it or hear it.
Oh, 100%. I do the exact same thing. I dragged my feet for so long, even starting this podcast. And then I've had so much trepidation along the way about, wanting to make sure like every aspect of it's perfect.
Yeah.
And like you've experienced, like if you don't push through that to some extent, you're just never going to put anything out there.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of friends and peers and, fellow performers that I've gotten to know all feel pretty much the same way. So I don't think anyone's ever really alone in that. And it's healthy to put something out even if you got a personal problem with it, because it's usually not something that most people are going to even notice unless you point it out to them like an idiot, which I usually do. I'm like, oh, here comes the mistake.
Oh my gosh. I do the same thing all the time. It's so aggravating.
Yeah, you just kind of need to shut up sometimes, I think, and just put your stuff out, and people are gonna like it if they like it. So
that's like the mantra I say to myself every day. You kind of just need to shut up sometimes.
Yeah, I try to be quiet as much as possible.
Like even last night at the show, I was describing the podcast to somebody that was in their head. They're just thinking, "Oh, that's cool. This guy has a podcast. How neat!" And in my head, I'm reciting the tagline, and before they can even say anything, I'm like, I know it's too dense. I got to rebrand. I know it's too.
You shouldn't even listen to it.
Yeah, it sucks. Like it's so weird how we do that, because that's going back to what we were talking about earlier. That like is the exact opposite of that like authentic connection. It's like you're almost trying to put that barrier up before someone. You're trying to reject yourself before someone else can.
Yeah. It's a weird social flaw to have, but
very human one.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, I guess stop telling people that we suck before they
can develop their own opinion.
Yeah. That would be a place to start.
Yeah.
So only kind of wrapping up here, only like a few more questions. What I'm curious if you have any thought. Megan brought this up to me last night when I was kind of prepping for our conversation. I thought it was like a really good concept, a really good question. We all know the like bigger musicians, musical influences, whatever, people that are touring the world and doing stuff on a bigger stage. Like, what's it been like? And I have some personal experience with this for doing the local music thing for 7 years, but like, what's it like being like just in a place like, you know, the Akron-Canton area, being a musician? Like, do you have any thoughts on performing your craft in that kind of setting in like, you know, smaller towns, things like that, than, you know, being on these big stages or whatever? Like, have you ever kind of processed that, or, you know, what's that experience like, that dichotomy? Like, is it easier to develop connections and relationships, or are you like yearning for a bigger platform? Like, what are...
Oh, okay. Yeah. I really enjoy playing just anywhere I can. Honestly, some of the smaller venues and shows have produced, you know, people who you recognize are active fans. Like, you can get some really organic connections out of smaller shows. I don't think that there's I don't think it necessarily is gonna bring you fulfillment to always just play like huge, you know, stages, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think it equates to success. I mean, it's a great feeling to be on bigger shows and play bigger venues, and but yeah, I think being able to do both from time to time is a pretty cool place to be.
I think that's well said. I guess that's more of like the concept of that question to me, is like, we measure success in all different ways, but a lot of it just as a human is like reaching new levels of, you know, playing to bigger audiences, or, you know, being just more nationally recognized for what you're creating. But I think there's a lot of merit in being a part of a community like that over a long period of time.
Yeah, no, I think it's important, and you meet a lot of great people, and get to work with very, very skilled folks, and even coming on this show, like getting to know you.
Yeah, and thank you for categorizing me as a skilled folk. So.
Yeah, you are in the skilled folk category.
All right, I can quit now. That's the only affirmation I need. But yeah, I think about that a lot, because I'm somebody, going back to our earlier conversation, like, I've always struggled with that balance of wanting that kind of larger affirmation, if you will, but having to constantly remind myself, like, this is where it's at, you know, building community with people, being present, like all the themes we've talked about. Like, I think that can be an extremely positive, like, measure of success, is just like you're connecting with the people that are in your community, and you're building that, rather than, you know, necessarily becoming this big star or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know too many people who have really gotten into it for the sole purpose of being like a huge, or like wanting to be a big deal. But you know, that happens, and some people succeed at it. And
yeah, nothing wrong with it either.
More power to you.
Exactly. So, last question. So, is there any general encouragement that you would give to, you know, fellow musicians or anyone creating, like, just anything you've learned that you're like, hey, I've been doing this for a while, you should be encouraged by this or know this?
Yeah, I think if you want to do any kind of creative endeavor, that it's important to see it through and really just dedicate yourself to one thing at a time. And the experience you get along the way will help you continue to do it, if nothing just supremely awful happens to you in the process where you're just like, I'm never doing that again. Like, that was just embarrassing. But no, that was really not an inspiring thing to say. I don't think that happens a lot. But yeah, I say dedicate yourself towards your abilities that you know you have, and just have a little bit of confidence and try to get something done.
I think that's excellent advice, because many of us keep things just kind of buried or best kept secret. You got to do it.
Yeah, doing it is, I mean, you got to do it. Not like, I mean, there's a lot of people who try to do things and don't ever get them done just because they get hung up on it or something. But what's the is it the Home Depot where doers get things done? Is that the tagline?
I think you're right.
Yeah. You gotta go to the Home Depot of creative self-confidence.
It's like a game of Qwirkle. If you don't put the piece on the table, you can't Qwirkle. You got to do it.
That's a fact. Yeah.
No, that's great advice. That's great encouragement. Where doers get things done. That should be the motto of creativity. Okay, so where can people follow your work? How can they support you or get connected?
CodyJMartinmusic.com is my website, and then just across all social media as Cody J. Martin, other than TikTok. I've not joined TikTok yet.
Me either, brother.
You cannot find me on TikTok.
Me either. You won't find me on there. And then you're on all streaming platforms?
Yeah, all streaming platforms. Spotify, Apple Music, all that. Amazon Music. All the mains.
All the mains. Yeah. All the platforms.
All the main platforms.
Where you can also find the Easter Pod. So as you're
right on the Easter Pod.
Listen to some great tunes, listen to a great podcast. You know, what better day is there than that? Go follow Cody Martin on social media. Check out his website. We'll have, per usual, links in the show notes to all this stuff. Download his music, support his music. It's incredible. I could listen to you play for hours, as demonstrated by the fact that I did that last night.
Yes.
You are an incredible musician, a great friend, and I am just so appreciative of you coming on the podcast and sharing more about your work. I always joke with people, selfishly, this podcast is just so I can get to know the cool people in my life even better, and I'm glad we had this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. We're going to do it again someday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm really, speaking of human awkwardness, I'm awkward at ending podcasts, so...
I'm right there with you. I don't know how to land this shit.
That's okay. We'll just have the music play us out, and everyone can just tune into the next episode or what have you. So thanks again, Cody.
Thank you.